brighter than the sun.
Good Monday morning, Sonder family. You have Team Jennifer on the call. Jennifer is back home. Now she's been traveling with work. Jennifer, come on and tell us good morning. We haven't heard your beautiful voice in
Oh,
so
good
long.
morning, everyone. So good to see so many familiar names in the chat. Welcome, everybody.
Oh,
Thanks
we're
for
glad
being
you're
here.
home.
Yes, so good to be home for a day.
For a day.
A
But you
day.
do have Team Jennifer on the call this morning. So Jennifer Krippner is my co-pilot. I'll be in front of the camera. She'll be behind the camera, hanging out in the chat, guiding you along the way. And yeah, she has been traveling like a crazy woman with her job from coast to coast and time zone to time zone. So we love being reunited. You'll see more of Jennifer very soon. Her life is settling down, and so we'll have a little more Team Jennifer in our future, particularly when October hits. Welcome again. I'm coming to you from the Dallas, Texas area. We had a balmy 107 yesterday, so I know that for some of you, the Burr months are like, no, I don't want them to come. I don't want to be covered in snow and ice. But for some folks, the Burr months is what we live for. And so I'm getting very excited because we are finishing up the week. This week, we're finishing up the month of August. If you can believe it, it was like Katie. I was her co-pilot last night, and when she did the weekly setup, and she had a little graphic that was like the year has been like, and it was like January, February, all these slow months, and then June, July, August, and it feels that way to me, like it's just flown. So anyway, if you are Team Burr months, you're on my side, but I do understand that for some you don't want to do that January, February time period. Um, all righty. So, National Day of Calendar this week has some fun stuff. I'll have this graphic later on in our presentation too, in case you wanted to grab on to something kind of fun to bring a little whimsy or joy to your life this week. I mean, today's waffle day. If you haven't had breakfast, maybe you go grab your Eggo. But we've got some really lovely things to celebrate in this week. And believe it or not, in a week from now it will be August 31st, and we will be saying goodbye to August. So yeah, we are kind of gravitating to that transition to the fall. Happy birthday. Eileen said it's her birthday week. If anybody else is celebrating anything special this week, drop that in the chat. If you have an anniversary or somebody who you love that you are celebrating, drop that in the chat. But oh, thank y'all for wishing Eileen a happy birthday. I love this community and how we show up for each other. Speaking of, we do have these guidelines for this community. And that reminder that you can have bad days and show up just as you are. And, I know that many times we come to these and we may not be feeling our 100% best selves, but we are here for one another. And we just say, come as you are. So, this is a safe place. It's okay to not be okay. We're here for you and for one another. And sometimes we show up for you, and sometimes you show up for others, and so it's all reciprocal. That's what life is. So I know that a lot of y'all have had a shift in your rhythms and routines. School has started or is starting. So it's a fun time of year. But you're here today. Now, if you ever need any assistance with your journal subscription, your journal journey questions, be sure to reach out to hello@silkandsonder.com. I love all the people that you are sharing in the chat this morning, the people that you are celebrating in your life. I love that. And Beth Ann, yes, I am ready for September's theme too. I've been a little not doing that. So I'm not going to say it in case there's somebody, who's still waiting to open their journal if they haven't gotten it yet. But I'm personally very excited. I'm joining you, Beth Ann. Like, yeah, I need me some of that. So Mary Ellen, it's better. Thank you. I'm gonna talk about that. But again, we are wrapping up National Wellness Month and our theme of velocity. Last week of velocity, very excited about where my brain ended up falling with the understanding of what velocity looks like in my own life. Y'all remember I was not real excited about this theme, but I've really enjoyed this journey and really focusing on the word direction. That was very powerful for me. I don't know if you have discovered something different along the way about maybe your first impression of the theme and how it's hit in your life. But this was, I think, Christine's maybe definition, and she had done that doodle about what velocity looked like for her. And she said it was the gentle, unhurried momentum of alignment. And I wanted to bring this up again because. Um, we're going to be working on that new theme in September. And maybe you'll gravitate to some kind of an image that will support your definition and something beautiful to look at. And yeah, oh my gosh. Lori, what's the opposite of velocity, right? That's pretty much what my August was. Yeah, August, we start those new months and we think they're going to be great, and then they turn out to be a trash fire. If there's anybody here for the very first time, this is your first social, well, y'all drop that in the chat. Just say it's me. This is a cameras off, mics off event. It's being recorded. You'll be able to go back and access this recording as well as like a couple thousand other recordings. But if you are here for the very first time, just put a me so we can give you a welcome. And it will also help me kind of know if I need to spend a little extra time on some of these things. So, so this morning's agenda, we're going, last week I kind of flipped things around, but this week we're going to do that mind map first. And oh, hello, Slay Girl, welcome. Um, first timer. And then Leanne is talking about what her word of the year was. So that was some serendipitous moments. I love that. We're going to do our rosebud thorn reflection, and then we're going to do our weekly setup pages. And I have some examples to share with you. So, this mind map is a bonus prompt you get. It helps us do a deeper dig into the monthly theme. Of course, this month has been velocity. And we have been working on just looking at velocity in different ways in our life. So this is going to be week number 4. If you are new, you don't have to catch up. You can just work on week number 4. And if you would like to look at the other weeks, grab a screenshot, and you can go back and maybe consider that. So I know, where did the month go? For sure, Akosua. All righty. And Slow Girl's real name is Monique. Hello, Monique. All right. So there are 4 weeks. You recall we looked at our true north in week number 1. Jennifer will be dropping all of these in the chat so you can also grab them there. But we looked at the number 1 primary direction. We wanted our life to flow, that momentum to flow. The second week was the accelerator, that micro habit that really propels us forward. Y'all remember I shared drinking my lemon water every morning is like, that's how I start my day. Last week was, oh, do we have speed bumps in our life that get in our way? And I talked about my scrolling habits. And then week number 4, I'm very excited about this one. Velocity isn't just about accelerating, it's about knowing how to hold your ground beautifully right where you are. So today we are considering the single most grounding habit or routine that has successfully kept you steady amidst the speed of this past month. And that speed could have varied. But what kept you steadied, right? What was that guiding compass point? What is the one thing supporting you that deserves to be celebrated and sustained? And so there's the question for this week. I'll go back and forth between both of these slides, though, while you work on this. My page is there on the right. And I said, I framed this out with the single most grounding habit or routine that keeps me steady. What deserves to be sustained, celebrated, is my daily readings in my One Day at a Time in Al Anon. And that is my little book on my pajama legs. And I read that book every morning. As you know, I've shared with you before, that's a pretty important devotional for me, that mindset time. Um, and I have several of these Al Anon books, and Al Anon is the organization for family and friends of alcoholics. And so I wrote, I will always be a child and a sister of alcoholics. And that fact drives my nature and who I am and how I live my life. And my daily work on me through these readings steadies and sustains and helps me take a deeper look at why I do what I do. I'm always going to be that hardwired kid who was in survival mode, right? And that's going to affect, even after 43 years, my relationship with my spouse, my relationship with my kids. So that for me is the thing that keeps me steady and helps me remember, okay, you may feel this way, and it's because of that background. But here's some words of wisdom to help you figure out yourself so that you can be your best self. And because I tend to go back, when you're tired, when you're upset, when you're anxious, you go to those. It's real easy to default to those patterns that have always been in your life. Your brain just automatically does that. And so this is the thing that keeps me on course, is that reading. So that's the direction I went. That's my steady, do it every day. Gotta have it. And so, anyway, let me put on a little bit of music as you consider what is the thing that you want to celebrate and sustain that keeps you, aligned and keeps that velocity moving in the direction you need it to move. right. Thank you for sharing in the chat the things that help you feel steadied, and those practices that you have. And maybe you're in a season of discovery and, some talk about attention deficit and what that looks like in terms of having that steadiness. And so consider that your invitation to just again be in have an open mind and maybe discover what's right for you. I'm gonna tell you a really quick story. Y'all know I talk too much, but I remember I directed a school that was at a church. So I was on a church staff, and I had gotten a new boss, and she was really wanting to know about our personal spiritual practices at home, like what we do, and everybody around the table talked about sitting still and doing morning devotionals and studying and all this stuff before they left. And I was like, I have the hardest time with that. I just can't. It's very hard for me to sit still now that I'm older. My body likes to sit still, but I can remember her saying, well, tell me, what you do just for you. And I talked about, like, I had a daily walk practice, and she said, tell me what you do when you're on your walk. Where do you go? And I had like wildlife behind my neighborhood, and so I walked on this jogging path, and I would see the deer and hear the birds, and she said, Jennifer, that's your time. That's your quiet time. But you have to move. Your body needs to move to embrace that mindfulness. And that was such a huge wake up moment for me, because I was surrounded by all these people who were quiet and intentional. And when she helped me frame out what I was already doing in terms of that mindset shift, and that I needed to move my body to feel that steadiness and quiet. So that was kind of big. So perhaps you're on that kind of a discovery in your life. If that movement and getting distracted, if you feel like maybe you're not doing it right, you kind of look at you. So anyhow, that's just that little story. Perhaps you discovered that about you, that you need to go dig in the dirt every day. You need to have a little something to tend to, and that's what will help you find that anchor. Anyhow, so there's that. All righty. So let's move now to um let's see. Oh, I got my slides mixed up. We're not doing a weekly planner. We're going to do our rosebud thorn reflection, and that's going to be found on page 50. And we're looking at what went well. What are the things that we are celebrating from this past week? That's just this past week. What were positive things, the highlights? You might have to dig hard for some. I had to dig hard for some, but I found one. What didn't go well? Your thorn. What is that challenge? And then conversely, to maybe help ease the difficulty of that challenge, let's look at your buds. What's coming up for you? What are you looking forward to? What maybe there's something you want to learn or experience that you could put in this space. So I told y'all last week I could hardly move because I had this nerve thing, and I did get diagnosed with a pinched nerve. I got put on, the steroid that makes you not sleep, and it's calmed down. I still have nerve issues, but the pain is almost all gone. I'm so delighted with that. I had my first full night of sleep last night. So thank y'all for those good thoughts, because I know I had the community. So when I look at my thorn from last week, it was definitely this pinched nerve situation, very little sleep. I think the longest I slept was 4 hours at a time throughout this past week. But I had a good night's sleep last night. Things are turning the corner. And then my rose was the converse part of that. It was a bad week. It was just a bad week. But I did think I have access to medical care. I have terrible insurance. It's very expensive when I go to the doctor, but I have access. And that's more than a lot of people could say. So that really was my rose. I have a pharmacy. I could go get my cortisone or anyway, so I tried to find the sunshine in that. And I still don't have the right feeling in my left hand. I can't type. Anyway, but it's getting better. And then my bud was, I shared, it's the same one as last week, and is that I joined this grief share support group. And last week was our first session, and I still feel like there's this bud that is growing, and good workbook, good discussion, good people. Again, finding community. I believe wholeheartedly that we were made to be in community with one another. And so to find community in this season of grief, and many of you had shared that Sonia asked, "Have you been a cleaning fool from the store?" I kind of have, except I've been trying so hard to be careful with how I move my body. Um, but anyway, that community aspect. So many of you shared you were familiar with Grief Share when I shared this last week, and thank you for that. You are so right. It was so good. So y'all keep that in the back of your mind. It is faith-based, but it is a beautiful program. So have that as a little tool, that you may need yourself one day, or that you could provide support to someone else. And I'm going to put on a little bit of music while you do this reflection. And we want to celebrate those things for you that were great. And we want to hold space for one another for the tougher things, those thorns. So please feel free to share from your heart as you're comfortable, and know that your community is here. All righty. All righty. So we celebrate the things that last week brought us. We celebrate maybe some of the thorns that we can leave behind. But mostly, I just celebrate that we have this safe space for this kind of reflection, and then to know we have people that are in our court, behind us as we journey through life. So thank you very much for sharing. So last week, full transparency, lest you think here's what my setup ended up looking like. This is last week's journal, and it says, "Oh, my aching neck, focus on healing this week." So all my best laid plans, nothing made it on paper last week. So I was feeling better yesterday. Here's my setup. I'm ready to go this week. I'm taking a gentle approach to life. I am starting, I kind of looked at my habits and activities, but so last night at Katie's setup, I was talking about somebody had mentioned Easy Does It, which is a slogan, Al-Anon slogan. I was like, that's what I'm going to put in my feeling. I want to feel that ease in my week since last week was a trash fire. And my three goals, it's heal, feel, and zeal. So I want to heal the shoulder, keep taking care of myself, giving myself what I need, get caught up on some rest. My two, I want to feel better, mind, body, soul, because I was getting all the guilt, right? I wasn't eating well. I didn't sleep well. I was just in a bad space. So I want to feel better. And then zeal, I want to look for my glimmers and gratitude, some joys in my life. So those are my three goals this week. And then my to-dos, I am doing a mindfulness practice with the noticing something about each one of my senses. I thought that will slow me down, which is how I need to approach this week. Especially, I am feeling better. So I want to make sure that I take that good, easy does it approach. My habits, I'm going to start the day with peppy music every day. That was from someone at last night's weekly setup. They said that's one of their things that they're going to do. And I thought, I'm stealing that. Going to start with a good upbeat piece of music, fill my water, fill my thermos with water, do a mindfulness challenge. And then it says MBH for mind, body, health. And my mindfulness challenge is over there in the mind body health space. And I have a graphic that I took every one of those things from that I'll be sharing with you later on. So that's I'm tracking it in my habit and activity tracker. My five senses grounding is there in my to-do list. And then I'm pairing, I was saying I do my Al-Anon book, but I'm also on the grief share journey. So I'm pairing that time together with my daily email from grief share. And so I'm going to make sure that I'm doing that. And then my shopping list has become my catch up if I can, because so many things were neglected last week. So I made a little bingo board. We'll see how I can, but I'm trying to be gentle with myself if I can. No guilt if I don't get it all done. And then my meal plan has been repurposed as my grief share takeaway because I'm getting a daily email. So that's what my setup is going to look like this week. And I think it's something that I can hold myself to so I don't have to just write over my pages. But wanted to, be honest, sometimes even we don't get our pages done. And, it's getting back on track. So let's start our week. I want y'all to stop for a second, check in with yourself right now. Take a deep breath, let it out. What are you noticing? How are you feeling at this moment? And what does that cause you to consider as you claim how you want to feel for this upcoming week? You can see there's many ways to set this up. This little middle one on the right was one of mine after Greg died. And I just wrote myself some affirmations. I can heal, I can be courageous, I can hope, I can go on, I can find peace. Those were the things, the mantra I needed to say all week long. Sonia says she needs to feel light. Here's some words for encouraging that. Maybe you gravitate to a word a day, like you could see how this little bottom one is set up, or throw a sticker here. Balance. I want to feel enough. I want to feel calm and relaxed. If you're not feeling 100% today, what's that opposite? If you're feeling a little down in the dumps, find that opposite word to help guide how you set up your week and what you want. Serene and calm. I love that. Or serene and centered, savoring and present in the last summer days. And Joanna, what a great call out, because it's so easy, especially like I am so complainy about it's not been out of the hundreds for, like maybe I need to savor the warmth and the fact that this time of year has to happen for the next time of year to come, right? So I love that savoring mindset. These are great words, great words. Remember, your worth is not connected to productivity, but then preach it. We all need to remember that. So good job. Good job. Okay, keep dropping those in transition with ease. I love the way you're finding gentle ways to take care of yourself. And again, this doesn't have to change from week to week. It's really about your vibe. Maybe your word of the year has landed here every single week this year, and you're putting that up there as that good reminder. We're going to take that now into our weekly major three goals. And you're going to see this graphic again, or you saw this graphic earlier in our mind map reflection. It's get into the habit of asking yourself, does this support the life I'm trying to create? And it's so easy to start filling out our pages and not consider a little bit bigger picture. Sometimes we just want to be productive, but maybe your life is calling you to slow it down a smidge. And what does that look like? What kind of life are you trying to create? This time of month, when we're looking at wrapping up a month, I always like to stop and I thumb back through. I showed you my shopping list bingo board is catch up if I can. That was going back and inspired from the previous weeks in August, and what didn't happen that I wanted to try to tackle. So that's inspired those outstanding things. You could also frame your goals around a personal challenge, maybe health. If you said you haven't been feeling great. Maybe health drives your three goals this week, right? Look at that word. How does that word inspire those three goals? And maybe you need some no goals. Maybe you need to say no to some things. Now, it's okay to not set goals. If you want to just repurpose this space into three things or whatever, however many number of things that are going to bring you some joy. Maybe a song list goes here. Maybe you're going to try some new recipes just to change some things up. Perhaps there's some learnings you want to do and you want to explore some topics, or you put a little mini bingo board here as well. Maybe you do a task oriented bingo board and a fun oriented bingo board in two of these spaces. So hopefully this will give you some things to consider. I love those three goals, Lori: happiness, healthfulness, and mindfulness. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, so y'all keep those ideas coming because you will inspire each other. Of course, that's why we're here. Think about how those goals will support and what is your why. And so here's different ways that people have set this up. And like, look at the one that's there. They want to feel calm and drama free and rested. And so the goals are, I'm going to do yoga. I'm going to have no unnecessary spending, and I'm going to cook, eat more cooked and prepared food. So for this person, that was a very centered way of approaching those three goals. The one next to, I want to be in control. And again, looking at health, self-care, and then productivity with some of the things that they were going to do to support that. So really good inspiration from y'all. So thank you always for sharing in the chat so that we can show some of these things. And then here, to feel serene. And then I love it's the way they're going to be serene, but they've done a little daily checklist. So every day they're popping in with themselves. They're going to give a check to make sure that they haven't been overwhelmed with work. They've put in some techniques to be calm. No mindless eating. That is actually something that I need to kind of shore up myself. When you feel empty, it's real easy to want to go fill up so you don't feel so empty. And so I've been doing a little bit of that. And then the no impulse spending. So that really would bring this sense of peace and serenity to this person if they can tackle those three goals for the week. And then we have the goals in both of these examples that there's some to-dos that are tied directly to those goals. So if I want to focus on my mind, what does that look like? Well, I'm going to read daily. I'm going to schedule a doctor's appointment. I'm going to breathe and meditate. So really providing support for each of those goals. And then, of course, we have the to-do list with all the tricks of the trade. So maybe you divide your to-do list up into sections for your life, your need to do, your want to do. Um, I repurpose mine with just that mindfulness activity. You could actually have a to-do list here, and then we've got all the tools, the Eisenhower matrix. I've got examples, the Pomodoro technique. As we are here at the last week of the month, maybe you do go look at all the undones and decide, does this still need to be on my list? And if yes, maybe that goes in this space this week. And if no, then, mark it out, put an X and say goodbye to it. Don't let it linger there and make you feel bad for not being productive or whatever. I love the to-do list with the little stickers. And then we've got a couple of techniques to really help give you structure to accomplishing goals and to-dos. The day in Pomodoros, we talk a lot about working under that idea of a timer, setting timed sessions of work, of decluttering, of focus, um, as well as this Eisenhower matrix, which is where you take all the things and you pop them into this matrix to help with your prioritization. And it can be all the things that you may find yourself doing. So you could put things on there like scrolling on the phone, mindless scrolling. And then that ends up going in the delete box. And when you write it, you're giving a lot of power to your paper. But those Pomodoros, I work really well with this type of technique. And sometimes I don't do the whole Pomodoro session where it's, you do the 25-minute focus and then you take a break, but I will set a timer and I work kind of under that time frame. So how much can I do in 10 minutes? And, hey, Google, set a timer for 10 minutes and then I tackle the kitchen. Something about that, beat the clock. I don't know. It probably goes down to fourth grade and learning my arithmetic, the multiplication facts as quickly as I could in fourth grade. I don't know. Do y'all remember that? They would do those fast timed tests, but there's something about beat the clock that really works for me. Um, and then maybe, depending on where you are in your soul this week, you need to slow it down, and perhaps your to-do list becomes a to feel list. And you engage even more words to support how you want to feel this week. And you are intentional with writing those things in, or a to be list. How do you need to be? And so those things, or even just half of this list could be how I need to be and what I need to do. Um, yeah, I could. Lynn, I know you want to know why we have anxiety, right? It goes back to those timed multiplication tests. Anyhow, perhaps you leave this blank and it becomes your to-do list, and the extra things that you get done, you celebrate. And that's kind of a fun thing. I love the idea of a to-do list. I often use this space as a to-do list, but because I'm trying to be mindful with slowing it down a little bit, this week I put that, the five senses reflection in that space. But that's a good way to celebrate, to find glimmers. Maybe this is a glimmer space where you find the good things. Blissful is a great word, Carly. I love that. Of course, we love a mini bingo, so that could show up in your to-dos and just celebrate, when you give a bingo list. Or maybe you need to make a to-don't list. Like, what are some things that you need to talk yourself down from, that you don't need to, what is it? That self-doubt, that running dialogue. Do you need a visual reminder to quiet your soul? That could go in your to don't box. And then, of course, we have habits and activities. Now, I loved this graphic. It's slow hobbies for a peaceful soul. This is very selfish because I was saying I was trying to slow things down a little bit as I continue to repair whatever this is. But this graphic was so peaceful to me, and things that we may forget about that could be a really good habit. What does it look like if something like sending a handwritten note to 7 people this week? and where you sit down, and that's a mindfulness moment. That's a way of anchoring yourself. Just a little note, or doing a nature walk. I've got that. I love the pot of soup. It's so hot. We are actually cooking on our back porch right now, but I'm going to be using this particular habit and activity example in my September habit tracker. I'm going to track some slow hobbies next month. Tending house plants, journaling, reading one chapter. These things can really calm us down. So perhaps some slow hobbies become your habit and activity information this week. Um, when I had gotten off of being good about checking in with my journal, that's one of my old habit activity trackers, and it's a terrible grainy graphic, but we are approaching a new month. So if you're looking at your journal, and I don't want you to feel guilty if you see things like, oh, that didn't happen. Okay, it's data. But if you are striving to do a little bit more self accountability, maybe you consider setting your habit and activity tracker up where you are directing yourself back to the other portions of your journal that may have been neglected. But this is not about feeling guilty for neglecting. If it's important to you, then maybe you do a structure like this. Joanna, I'll try to remember to do that. Yes. So like I did, I checked in with my monthly habit tracker. I did my daily gratitude, and I did a one word gratitude every day instead of like writing it out. I was doing daily financial affirmations at the time. So I would write an affirmation, and I was working on getting my email cleaned up. And then I looked for joy-filled fun and flow. I think this must have been our flow theme, just finding those moments of losing track of time. But and I was tracking it like in the expense tracker. So that tracker up there led me back to other parts of my journal. So that's just, I wanted to mention this since next week we will be starting a new journal journey in September. And maybe that's something that could help you if, like, on your weeklies, you see something like that to point you back to those other things. If that's something that you feel like you really want to have in your life, like I really do better when I'm doing all the things on these pages. But again, it's not meant to be like, oh, I didn't do anything and I feel really guilty. That's just data. If you didn't get it done, you didn't get it done. There were those blank space, you heard me say it. The blank spaces also are part of your story, and they're not there to make you feel bad. You can set goals in this space, but you don't have to. You can just straight up track. And so there's some really fun examples. I love the one at the bottom where she's got bed by 10, 5 times that week, and she gave herself the weekend off. Like, she drew circles Sunday through Thursday night, but Friday and Saturday she was allowing herself to stay up a little bit later. And so the days she needs to go to bed, they're circled. The day she's giving herself permission to stay up, just X's through there. And then also being able to sleep in on Saturday and Sunday morning. So I thought that was a really good way to set that up. And Carly says the hardest part is being okay with the things that didn't get done. You're right. So disassociate. It's a piece of paper and you've got this data. And honestly, kind of think, did this change the world that I didn't get it done? And it's probably no, I'm okay. And you can, try to find some peace. But I know, Carly, it is hard because I love a to-do list that is marked off. I find so much satisfaction and I feel validated when I can do that. And anyhow, and then a lot of you have tried trying to tap into the good hormones on a daily basis. And you're assigning a letter for each one of those things on your list. And you try to spell the word dose every day to make sure that you're popping into the dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. And when you can get your daily dose, your cortisol is going to drop. And that cortisol is that hormone that makes us stressed, and it makes it our midsection shows cortisol. So if we can counter the cortisol with the good stuff, that will do us just exponentially amounts of good. And so perhaps you incorporate something like that with the intentionality of those good hormones. And then there's some habit tracker inspiration. Let's put on some songs and work on this page. And y'all are doing great about talking about what you're doing and what's worked for you. So keep that coming as well. Or if you're considering trying something else this week, or if you're thumbing back and you're going to try to do a little bit of a catch up, let us know all those things in the chat and how we can support each other. All right, one more time, slow hobbies, please. Okay, Mary Ellen, let's go back to that. And remember, this is recorded, so you can go to the YouTube channel afterward. And I'm gonna look and see. I was looking, I may have already deleted it off my phone, but I'll go find that graphic and try to get it posted in Sonder Club later if I can figure out where I originally got it. My phone camera roll is so full of Silk and Saunders stuff. I try to kind of clean it up as I use it. But remember that you can always access this, and I'll be bringing this one up again because I'm gonna set up my month, the habit tracker wheel with some of these slower like I'm going to go look for a bird every day. That's going to be one of my habits in September. So yeah, we're saying goodbye to velocity. I didn't have much time on this habit tracker ideas. If you needed some inspiration. But there's some ideas. I think most of us are pretty familiar with the decluttering and making our bed, but maybe you need to watch the sunset or choose a word of the day and do a reflection, or maybe you want to get up 15 minutes earlier just to have that direction for your day, or go to, I've heard it said that for some of us, sleeping in actually equates to going to bed earlier the night before, because the sleeping in maybe cannot happen, but that we maybe can control going to bed earlier the night before. And so that's how, so maybe you, instead of getting up 15 minutes earlier, you tuck yourself in 15 minutes earlier the night before to get a little bit more rest in that way. So let's pop over to the second part of our setup where you'll see the meal plan, which again, I've repurposed for my grief share mini reflection each day. Your mind body health plan, which is for me the mindfulness challenge. I have that graphic coming up. And then your shopping list, which can be a shopping list, but that's going to be my catch up if I can. Bingo. We'll start by looking at the meal plan. Perhaps I love that. Sonia says, Kara said that she records what she eats as accountability, which really helps. And that's for sure, because when you see it, it's right there and you're like, oh, okay. So you can see the second example here is the meal plan for the week. I love Saturday is to be determined with a fun sticker there, but, or you could use this as the tracker, what you actually ate. This is a great place for chore lists. Look at those beautiful daily doodles. Talk about tapping into a part of your brain that may get neglected. Maybe this is your creative time, and you may say, well, I don't draw. You can draw. It may not look like you'd love it to look. My drawings would never look like that, but doodling is important. So maybe you need to do that. Daily creativity challenge. Are you finding ways of being creative in your life and taking care of that part of your brain? We've got a daily to-do list, macro tracker, another way to use it in association with your nutritional needs, appointments. What about those water droplets? Do you use them? Are you hydrated right now, especially in this heat? Make sure you're hydrating. And then this one in the bottom there, the energy level of the day. So sort of this reflection and tracking caffeine. But next door in the Mind Body Health Plan, they've done their rating for that energy level. So they're really wanting to lean in, like, where is my energy? Which is a really important thing to do when it's 110 outside, right? And so if you are writing in a number every day, like, okay, today was a normal day, or I felt normal with a little lackluster. So you track that, and maybe you can look for what's causing that. Is it your nutrition? Did you sleep well the night before? That kind of stuff. And then also post-it note. Y'all know I love a post-it note moment. So maybe you have a little mini journal prompt and response, like the one you see at the bottom right there. I feel joy when, and then your answers underneath. So that's kind of a fun way to set this up. And then I've put the Mind Body Health Plan and the shopping list together because these spaces can be repurposed so easily, back and forth, depending on, what you're choosing to put in your setup this week. And of course, again, you're always invited to use the spaces just as they are. Here are a couple of ways to do a little mini journal prompt. So there's that, a self-esteem journal, and then just some really great questions over there on the right. Like, Friday's prompt is 3 gratitudes of the day, or Sunday's prompt, celebrate the wins of the week. So maybe you set up a little mini journaling in one of these spaces. Weekly intentions using alliteration. That's kind of a fun way to set that up. So there's the inspirational graphic, but then there's also how somebody took that into their setup for the week. We always love the reflection of how do I feel and what is that telling me I need? And so that's a great morning check-in, a great evening check-in. Maybe you have two of these, and maybe your mind, body, health is your morning check-in. How do I feel? What do I need? And then your shopping list is the evening check-in. End of the day, how do I feel? What do I need? So that could show up twice. I also love this mindfulness. How did I care for me? And that really helps you prioritize your needs on it. I mean, do you stop and ask yourself that question every day? You're taking care of everything else. How are you taking care of you? And then a dopamine menu, some of those good doses, some things that might lift your spirit instead of doom scrolling. So when we say, I don't want to doom scroll, then what do we replace that with? What's the positive that we can do? So perhaps something on that menu will inspire you. Of course, the 7 types of rest. Maybe you lean into one time and all week you focus on emotional rest. Or maybe you pick and choose and do a different type of rest each day. So it's really about what you need. Glimmers. Okay, remember the mindfulness challenge I'm doing in my mind body health plan? That's where I drew inspiration. I looked at my week. I actually have moved my day 2, the do not spend money for 24 hours, the no spend day. That got moved to today because that's what seemed to work better with alignment with what was coming due in our life. But I kind of swapped them out. But every one of those things are on my mindfulness challenge. I put a star there so I wouldn't forget to point that out. And then I'm doing the 5 senses grounding technique back over in my weekly to-do space. And so I'm doing exactly what is there on that graphic. 20 questions to find your best self is a really good inspo slide for a mini journaling prompt. And then you've seen these throughout the month. I've kept them up so that you could draw inspiration from them. But these are those ways of filling in these spaces to take really good care of yourself. And y'all, we're on the last week of August for these 2 calendars that I have been sharing. And y'all know I was doing the 31 days of velocity in my meal plan, but now I'm going to move that like to the weekly spread because I want to do my grief share thoughts in my menu plan instead of that. And then there's that national day of. Let me put on some music and go back through all these slides again. Be sure to grab a shot of something that you see and let us know what you'll be doing in your spaces. All righty. So there's our setup. This has been recorded. You could go back and watch it. I've mentioned that several times today, but I'm going to encourage you to, as you walk through this week, really start thinking about your September and like what you want those intentions to be and how that can show up in these weekly things that we do for ourselves. So, Janine got engaged in the social, and now you're gonna be late to the doctor. We'll write you a note. We're so glad you were with us. But I want you to really think about embracing September through the lens of how you're finishing up August, right? Think about what you're loving right now. Carla says, loving you all this morning. So drop that in the chat. Maybe you're reading a book. Maybe you found a new recipe. Maybe you're watching a new show, or there's a great podcast that's inspiring you. Feel free to drop that thing that you are loving. I put the Burr months are coming. Y'all know I've been talking about this ad nauseum, and I apologize for that, but I'm ready to not be 110 outside. I want to thank you for showing up for each other today, showing up for yourself. Share in Sonder Club. That's where we get these great ideas from y'all. So keep sharing, and thank you for the times that you do share, because that helps inspire our whole community. I just got my weekly notice from Jenny. It's time to go read my coaching plan for the week. And so I'm going to encourage you to check that out if you haven't done that yet. And then, some beautiful music. So let's close this time out. I send you lots of light and love, Sonder family. Have a good last week of August. Bye.
That's